Hello, hello.
Hey, it's so good to see your face. I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been a long time since I've seen your beautiful face.
Katie, will you introduce yourself to the group? Tell them who you are.
Yes, absolutely. My name's Katie Garces. I am a nurse practitioner and a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I am a wellness and spiritual and life coach primarily for women. I do have some male clients as well. I'm based out of Denver, and I work in person and I work virtually, and we kind of work on all the things. Most people tend to come to me with nutritional weight loss type concerns, but we end up looking at all the other components that make us complicated, amazing, awesome women and beings. And because I believe if any one of those things are off balance, then it's going to be really hard to get everything else in balance. So really approach things from a very holistic approach. And I do group coaching and one-on-one. I do book clubs and kind of all the gamut there.
Yeah, we met each other because I don't know if anyone in this group is familiar with Sean Croxton. He's he's my mentor. I love him. But we met through Sean Croxton's workshop, a few years ago
Almost
now.
2 years ago, yeah.
I know, I couldn't believe it. So you guys, Katie is someone that I knew professionally in this realm and somebody that I admired and spent time with and got to know a little bit. And I dare say we just sort of watched each other's work and seen how everybody's doing and what you're into. And you sent out a newsletter, and your strapline is sexy, spiritual, sane. Did I say it in the right order? Okay.
Yep.
But you said sexy, spiritual, sane, and sober ? And I was like, what? And the timing was amazing because you started talking about what we're calling gray area drinking in your own life. And I won't take away from your story. I'll let you tell it. But this was all happening as Tilly and I were setting up our first 21 days of challenge. And I was just like, girl, we got to talk. So Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yes, and it has been quite a journey, that's for sure. So wine and alcohol and all the spirits have always been a big part of my life, and I would say I was kind of known as that girl who was always up for a drink, and that was always just a really important part of my life and a good part of my life, I thought. And with many, many things in life, I feel like they work until they stop working. Mm-hmm. And I think that the universe was kind of tapping on me on my shoulder for probably several years that maybe alcohol wasn't really working in my life, but I kind of had this death grip on it. It was like my BFF. I wasn't giving up my wine. It was kind of getting me through, and it was fun. And so I think in the last year or so, I hit 40s and just really looking at work and life and am I really satisfied? Am I really happy in all of these areas? And there was always just something not quite, or I feel like I could be better, or something's getting in my way. And it all kind of came to a point earlier in the summer where I just realized that it was the alcohol that was getting in my way, that it was something I was choosing at the end of the day, not just out of relaxation anymore, but maybe because I was disappointed that my work day hadn't gone as well as I wanted, or that my kids were driving me crazy and making dinner with a glass of wine, and bedtime was a lot more enjoyable that way as not, or my husband was kind of driving me crazy, or
as they do.
Yeah, I always had a reason to pour that glass of wine, which usually became at least two. And so just realizing that I wasn't feeling good physically, I knew I had more in me to give both my clients, my work, and my life. I really had to sit back and look at that and say, okay, this is a habit. All right, straight up, it's a habit. It's a habit that happens to be a toxic habit. I mean, there's really no denying that alcohol has been proven to be a carcinogen, and it's ethanol, it's jet fuel, and it's an addictive habit, right? There is no discussion there. It's proven to be addictive. And so as much as I didn't want to realize, hear those words or see those things kind of in my face, I realized that this is a habit that I think I need to step away from before it became a little bit more unhealthy or more dangerous. And I realized that as hard as that was going to be, because I was going to really have to look at those things that I was kind of numbing out, right? I was going to have to be with them and sit with them, and I knew that was coming, and it wasn't easy, but it allows you to actually be present with the things in your life that maybe you're not super thrilled with, as opposed to, well, this is how it's going to be, and this is the rest of my life, and it's just good enough. And I wasn't okay with just good enough. I wanted more. I wanted to see the potential of my relationships, my work, my health, how I felt. I want to see that potential in my life. I don't care how old you are. I don't think you're too old to see that potential and to find it. And so that was sort of the impetus for me to do that. It's been about 2 months now, and I was the girl that was drinking wine pretty much every night. And now, it's been 2 months. I've lost track of my days, but so I've been through all the ups and downs. I've been writing about it because there's been a lot of ups and downs. When you start feeling all your feelings, they can be pretty darn strong. They can come out of left field. You're like, whoa, where did that mood swing come from? Or, and when you're not numbing out at the end of the night, whether it's one glass or a bottle, you are kind of forced to look at some of this stuff. So the personal development, the personal growth aspect of this has been monumental and exhausting. I won't say that it hasn't been, but it has opened up so much for me, both personally, professionally, in my relationships, mostly good. And so it's just a journey that I'm planning to continue on right now. People are asking me, is this forever? I don't know if it's forever, but it's for right now.
Yeah, and why do we always go there? Like, why does it have to be forever or what if we truly, truly took one day at a time and 1 week at a time and, looked at our life in seasons instead of trying to paint the rest of our life with the brush we're holding right now, right? I couldn't deal that way.
No, and I think what was really eye-opening for me is that in my mind, and I hadn't done a lot of research, but I really thought that you were either an alcoholic or you weren't. And that if you were an alcoholic, you had to go to AA and promise to never drink again, or else, you're going to, I don't know. And so because I thought it was black or white and there was one way or the other, and I never really resonated with AA. And AA is amazing. It has saved hundreds of thousands of people. It's an amazing thing. It never resonated with me. And the term alcoholic never resonated with me. And so when I started doing some research and finding that there were some other programs and some other people writing about this idea of gray area drinking, and that, we don't necessarily have to label ourselves or define ourselves with an alcoholic label or anything. I'm not drinking right now. That doesn't mean I won't 5 years from now, I don't know. But we don't have to define ourselves and put ourselves into those holes in order to seek growth, enlightenment of whatever's going on. And so that was so freeing to me that I could just explore this without that label and without that defining thing. And I think that's why a lot of people just shy away from it. They're like, well, I'm not that, so guess I have to be just this.
Yeah, I think that learning the term, the vernacular of gray area drinking has been so helpful for so many because, alcoholic means something. It conjures up an image in our brain, and it's like, who wants to associate with that? Who is looking for reasons to carry that flag, right? But then when you're like, wait, if I break this down into my habit with alcohol or my relationship with alcohol, is it a friend? Am I treating alcohol like a friend now? Because alcohol is not my friend. Like, I need to pay attention to that. But I think that you're raising such a good point here because it's almost like when we only look at extremes or when we engage in the black and white thinking, right, then we're saying things like, well, I don't drink in the morning and I don't drink before 11 a.m., so there's no way I have a problem because... Right? Or we look like extremes are very easy to disassociate from. That's why I just think the gray area is so brilliant, and it lets people examine their relationship with alcohol instead of worrying about which label is appropriate for them or not.
Exactly.
I have a question for you because you're such a beautiful, fit lady, and you're obnoxiously tall. It's so rude. But, and you know your image. Your image, Katie, is put together, mom of adorable twin boys, great husband, nutrition coach, just presents so well. Like, how hard was this? To raise your hand and be like, guess what, folks? Like, this is something I'm dealing with.
Right. Yeah, it was hard. It was big. It was really big. And I didn't really share it until I was about 30 days in. And I didn't even really share it with anybody close to me because I personally like to sort of process and do things very internally first. I was reading and I was, seeking out all the things that I needed, but I kept it really personal at first. And so when I did sort of drop my bomb, it kind of landed like a bomb. For, I would say, most of my clients, it was really exciting and refreshing to know that, I got my stuff too, and, this is what I'm dealing with. And it was amazing the amount of people that came out of the woodwork saying, hey, I'm struggling with this too, or hey, I quit alcohol 6 years ago, 6 months ago, last week. So a lot of people, I think, come to this place in our life where, like I said, what worked for us in our 20s, 30s, 40s, like, or doesn't work for us now. We don't feel good anymore. Whatever the reason, I think a lot of people are coming to that place. And I think me giving a voice to that allowed people to say, hey, me too, as opposed to like, I have to hide this and this is my own personal shame or whatever. On a personal level, there were some friendships and relationships that have, some that have definitely grown because we've been able to have some pretty good conversations around this. Yeah. Some that have suffered a little bit because I think the wine was the center of our friendship or relationship or activities, and without that it's been a little awkward. It's been a little frustrating for both of us. And so, those are just things that I'm maneuvering and navigating with as much, grace, honesty, and authenticity as I can. But it definitely rocked the boat. But I think overall in a good way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I had a similar experience internally when I came out of the closet about my disordered relationship with food and, all the things I tried under the umbrella of health that, as it turns out, it was just manifestations of a disordered relationship with food. And bringing that stuff out into the light diminished its power over me so much. Totally. And it sounds like, I love calling that out, Katie, whenever I see it, because it's such a powerful thing and it's one of the most vulnerable things that we'll ever do. And yet it loses its dominion when you drag it out into the light. It's just not as big and hairy and scary.
Completely. And that's what I think is awesome about offering people, the program, this, what you guys are doing with your 21 days is that, nobody's making any major statements. They're just getting curious. They're just exploring a step away, but they're doing it. They're getting it out of this sort of quiet, maybe, prison of our brain, right? And where we all know we can be, whether it's food or alcohol or any other behavior or habit that maybe we don't think is serving us. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's what I, ask my people. I'm like, is this serving you? Because if it's working in your life and everything else is going great and you're meeting your goals and you're happy and healthy, go you. Like, if it's not serving you, then let's just take a look at it. Let's maybe take a little step away and see what happens and see what comes up.
I think that's brilliant. And I think that one of the steps that we sometimes skip is to actually sit back and say, what do I want? Like, how do I want to feel? How do I want to show up? Like, what am I trying to do? And is there anything that I know that I can do or I feel called to do and I'm not doing it? And I think that challenging ourselves with those questions of who are we trying to be? Like, how do we want to show up in this world? Then it puts into context all of your questions about the habits that we're engaging in every day, whether it's alcohol, whether it's something easy like fitness or, how you're managing your money or your relationships or whatever. Like, if you can identify what you actually want and how you want to feel, then we can ask ourselves questions like, is this habit serving me? And if it's not, can I make some adjustments? And what would those adjustments look like if my life were on the trajectory that I wanted it to be on?
Right. Exactly. And that was kind of the thing that came down to for me was I stood back, I looked at my life and I said, I want a life that I don't want to numb out from. And I want to be a person that I don't want to escape from. And that's kind of what I was doing. I was like getting by and things were okay, but at the end of the night, for whatever reason, I just needed an escape. I needed to numb out. And I'm like, I still got a lot of life left. And I don't want to have to feel this way about my life or myself. And so, again, knowing that was probably going to be a little bit more uncomfortable before it got comfortable, it still was worth it to me to do.
Well, I think that anytime anyone steps out and says, hey, like, I'm dealing with this, you want to come along, I just think it's one of the bravest, most useful acts of service that there is. So I applaud you, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you have written beautifully about this. I would like to link in the comments underneath this video, I would like to link to some of the things that you've written already.
Yeah.
That would be terrific. I think everybody would enjoy that. I do have a question for you. Have there been any resources that you have enjoyed, like anything from an app to a book to a podcast to whatever? Is there anything, and I know I'm catching you cold with this question, and if you think of something, we can put it in the comments, but is there anything you would share to this group that you're really passionate about?
For sure. There's a ton. Off the top of my head, the first thing that I felt like was really life-changing for me was reading a book called, you guys may have already discussed it, This Naked Mind by Annie Grace.
Oh, that's so brilliant. Tilly is interviewing her. And
Amazing.
we haven't done it yet. Oh, that's so fantastic.
She's amazing.
Okay, I'll
that book literally, her premise is that we are so sort of socialized, like unconsciously socialized with our beliefs in alcohol, the way they are in our society, that we almost make it harder on ourselves to step away from it. And she just kind of changes the wiring of the way we think about it in a very, very approachable, very easily consumable manner. The book's super easy read. Okay. I read it in like a few days, and it changed. It was like a light switch. It made stepping away from alcohol so much easier than I thought it would. So, and like I'm a listener. I listen to it on Audible. It's great. Okay. She also has a podcast, so she's amazing. And then there's let's see, I did a program called Hip Sobriety, which is an 8-week online program. It's not, I don't think it's currently running.
Okay.
But Holly Whitaker, on Instagram, she's just at Holly. She's amazing. She has great insights. Again, it's just like a different viewpoint than maybe what we're used to thinking we're going to see about quitting alcohol. So yeah, there's bloggers out there. She had a podcast called Home Podcast, which I think stopped in January, but the archives there are amazing. I think once you just start digging, even in some of those, and I can think of more and list them, but it's like this whole world of like really cool, successful, fun, interesting people that have made this choice, and they're rocking out life, and they're not like hovering in some corner of some dark basement church meeting like I'm miserable. And that to me was the view of what I thought it would have to be like, you know. So it was really exciting to feel like there's this whole other way of potentially being and living without alcohol.
Yeah, how backward is it? And we've said this before because we coined it, somebody else coined it. How insane is it that alcohol is the only drug you have to justify not taking?
Totally. It's crazy.
It is
right?
crazy.
And if you were to like give up meat, nobody would question you, or say, I'm going to stop drinking dairy, like nobody would question you. But alcohol is like, it's crazy.
I'm going to drop this little cocaine habit.
Oh, yeah.
No, come on. Everybody's doing it. Yeah, totally. It's fascinating. Okay, so I'll drop some of those into the notes below this video. That'll be super helpful because we're all on this journey. And Katie, there are people in here from all over the spectrum. You know, there's the casual drinker who's just up for the challenge, all the way to somebody who's really like trying to get curious about their habits. And so what I love about this is that there's something for everybody. Like none of us don't learn by examining what we want and how we're trying to get there. So, so thank you for that. Now, we have something exciting to share, and this was part of the reason I was so keen to get you on really soon, and that is that there are several people who want to keep going in this challenge, and you are doing something in October. Can you tell everybody really quickly what that is?
Yes, I am doing a 31-day accountability group. It's called Stop Tober for self-care. So Stop Tober traditionally is a smoking cessation program in the UK. And I just kind of, I think it's like catchy, obviously, but I was like, what if I just did this for October and opened it up to anybody who really wants to step away from whatever it is that's not serving them? So for me, you know, it started as an alcohol thing, but I know some people are coming on, they're ready to step away from their social media habit or their coffee addiction or whatever it is. I know somebody who needs to like lay off the online shopping and shopping in general, so she's not going to shop for 31 days. So it's just an accountability group. It'll be on Facebook, similar to yours, I'm sure. Resources daily, things from me, weekly check-ins. In my experience, small group accountability is just amazing, and such cool things come out of that. Community, friendships, success. Whereas if you just say in your mind, oh, I'm going to do this, I mean, we all know it's really easy to like change your mind the very next day, but just really showing up for each other and yourself in a way that is based in self-care and not like, I am taking this away from myself, almost punitive, but like, hey, I'm going to put myself first this month. I'm going to take care of myself and step away from what's not serving me, whatever that may be. So yeah, that starts October 1st.
All right, that's outstanding. I know some people are looking for some things, and you do something that I think is brilliant. You charge $1 a day, so it's $31. And by the way, this is not like, we don't have an affiliate relationship on this. So because if we did, I would just tell everybody, but we don't. I just wanted people to know about it because some people are looking for something else to do and to carry on to this. And I love that when I asked you about that, you said, you know, when you're financially vested, you're emotionally invested. And I was like, oh, that's really smart. Why aren't we doing that? I think that's brilliant. And also, I think it's $1 a day. So there's that.
It's $1 a day. Exactly. I mean, there is an energetic thing when you show up a little bit with finances. But again, it's $1 a day. It's $31. I mean, that's a bottle of wine right there, So what could 31 days, $31, show up, see what happens, see what, in hearing from other people, seeing some of the resources I'm going to share, like the ones I mentioned before, plus many others. Because I've been at this a while now, enough to know what's really worked and what I've really gleaned some valuable tools from. Because I do think we need to have tools when we step away from something, particularly if it's a big part of your life. There's a lot that goes on, from a neurotransmitter standpoint to a blood sugar standpoint to just a pure habit. Like, if you're taking away a big piece of your evening, we got to figure out what we're going to fill that with. Otherwise, it's hard to be successful. And it doesn't have to be as painful as you may think if we have forward thinking to fill that space with some other cool things.
All right, very good. I love it. I will certainly drop anything you send me into the comments below this video. I really wanted to introduce you to our community so that they could hear your story and then carry on for whatever part of Stoptober may or may not speak to them. I need to get in there and take a little break from caffeine. I'm just scared to do it. I know I need to. Like, the little voice, it's telling me it's time. So we'll see.
Well, I would love to have anybody who's interested. I would love it. And thank you for having me in your group.
It's my pleasure. Katie, we'll see you in there.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, girl. Bye.
Bye.